Okay, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, in the last class we saw the three parts of the engine head, engine block and oil sump. And I also explained about the parts of the engine head. And now we can see a small video clip on the engine head. Okay, the upper part shows the camshaft here. So many cams are there mounted on the camshaft. And this camshaft regulates the opening of the valves underneath it. This type of camshafts are called overhead camshafts. And these camshafts control the opening of the inlet and exhaust valve. Okay, these are the valves arranged, and there is a spring provided there for the returning of the valve to the prior position. And during the only for the opening of the inlet during the suction stroke and also during the exhaust stroke, the exhaust valve is opened. That time only the the valves open. And here you can see this is the inlet valve. So fuel and air enters the cylinder through the inlet valve and exits through the exhaust valve. So these are the parts present in the engine head of the engine. Camshaft, followers, seats, collars, springs and valves. Okay. Next is the engine block. So various components present in the engine blocks are cylinders, oil passages and galleries, crankcase, piston, piston rings and oil rings, connecting rod, crankshaft, flywheel, and water jacket. So the cylinders provided is the combustion chamber, the place where the fuel and air gets ignited inside the combustion chamber. So the combustion chamber is the cylinders provided in the engine block. Then oil passages and the galleries are passages for oil, that is lubricating oil, that is present inside the engine. So oil is given into the engine as it is made up of metal parts. So when metal and metal gets rubbed each other, there is friction. Friction is developed, and due to the friction developed, heat is also generated inside the engine cylinder. So for lubrication purpose and to control the heat generated, oil is supplied inside the engine block. So for that oil to pass through and fall into the oil pan or the oil sump, oil passages are provided in the engine block. Next comes the crankcase. The crankcase is a case which holds the crankshaft. So the crankshaft is held in the crankcase, wherein the crankshaft receives the power from the piston. So the piston receives the heat energy, and the mechanical work that is obtained from the piston is transferred to the crankshaft, and the crankshaft is mounted in the crankcase. Then comes the piston. So the piston is the mechanical part which receives power from the combustion chamber. Then piston rings are present. I'll explain it later. Then connecting rod. We will be studying all the other parts in detail. So at that time, I will explain it. So there is a small video on engine block. Okay, this is the flywheel that is present in the engine block. And these are the various pistons. So this is a 6-cylinder engine. So there are 6 pistons or 6 cylinders present inside the engine block. This is the engine head, and okay, this shaft that is present in the bottom side of the engine block is called the crankshaft. It's a shaft, and and each piston is connected to the crankshaft. So you can see how it is moving. The piston is moving upward and downwards, while the connecting rod, this is called the connecting rod. The connecting rod moves in this motion and provides a rotational motion to the crankshaft. Okay, the cylinder block is made up of iron, then 2 to 4% of carbon, 0.3 to 1.2 percentage of manganese, 0.1 to 0.6 percentage of phosphorus, and 0.3 to 3% of silicon, and other additives are used for heat dissipation and sufficient strength. Okay. Next, the working of an IC engine. So there are basically, this is a figure is given, and it is basically the working of a 4-stroke engine. So the various processes, there are 4 strokes, or a stroke is known as the movement of the piston from the top to bottom or from the bottom to top. It's called the top portion of the maximum distance a piston can travel to the topmost point is called the top dead center, and the bottommost portion the piston can move is called the bottom dead center. So it is called as TDC, that is top dead center, and BDC, that is the bottom dead center. And you can see also that the piston, while the piston moves upwards, there is a small gap here. So you can observe that the piston moves about this point. Okay. After this point, up to this, and there is a small distance between the valves and the piston. That place is known as, or that space, or that volume is known as clearance. So there are 3 parts: a TDC, that is a top dead center, a BDC, that is a bottom dead center, and also a clearance volume. During the first stroke, that is called the suction stroke, the inlet valve opens, and you can see a blue medium, that is the air or air fuel mixture in the case of petrol engine, and air fuel mixture enters while the piston moves from TDC to PDC. After that, the second stroke is the compression, and while during the compression, you can see it moves from BDC to TDC and get compressed. The air or the air fuel mixture gets compressed. On compression, after that, the spark plug, this is called a spark plug. The spark plug provides a spark and it gets ignited. So you can see the ignition there, and that power throws the piston from TDC to BDC. The piston moves from TDC to BDC. Then there is exhaust remaining inside the cylinder. You can see a gray part, and that is pushed out through the exhaust port. This is called the exhaust port, wherein the exhaust valve opens and the piston moves from BDC to TDC. Such is the 4-stroke process of an IC engine. So this is how generally power is obtained from an IC engine. So now we will look at the various parts present in the cylinder block. So the first part is the piston. So what is a piston? A piston is a mechanical component present inside the cylinder which converts the heat energy generated inside the cylinder into mechanical work, or we will get that power onto the piston, and that piston transmits the power from there, from the cylinder to the crankshaft. So you can see how the piston moves in a upward and downward motion. And this is called a connecting rod. This blue part is called a connecting rod. And one end of the connecting rod is connected to the piston, while the other end is connected to the crankshaft. And due to this motion of the connecting rod, a rotational motion is obtained inside the crankshaft. Now we can see a small clip. Okay, this is the piston, and the 4 strokes are shown here: intake, compression, combustion cycle or the power stroke, and then exhaust. So huge pressure is here. They are showing the pressure generated during compression. The pressure generated is high, and on explosion it again increases, then decreases. So such huge pressures are generated in the combustion chamber, and the piston should be able to handle such pressures. So it is made up of such materials. You can see the temperature generated. So about 2000 degrees Celsius is generated here, and 250 degrees Celsius on the piston head itself. So oil is supplied here too. So you can see the oil moving inside. So these are called the piston rings. I'll explain it later. Then this is the oil film that is present. So this is the normal cycle of an engine. So this is how fast the piston moves inside an engine. There is an average piston speed of 10 meter per second. Okay, this is how the oil is supplied inside the piston. So piston is also a mechanical component. So when moving inside, friction is generated. To reduce that friction, oil is supplied. Okay. Next, pistons are made from low carbon steels or aluminum alloys. So why is aluminum used? Is because aluminum is lighter and also has a higher thermal conductivity. So what is thermal conductivity? It means it can conduct heat very fast outside. So heat will be generated inside the cylinder, and that heat must be dissipated outside so that the cylinder will not face any thermal deformation. Thermal deformation means when temperatures occurs inside the cylinder, there is a chance of melting of the piston or the cylinder walls. So such must not happen. So the heat must be dissipated outside to the surrounding. For that, the aluminum alloys are provided, or low carbon steels are also there. Low carbon steels provide high strength to the piston. So piston, we have seen the huge pressure generates inside the cylinder. So to withstand such pressures, it must have sufficient strength. So low carbon steels are provided. Aluminum alloys are used for better dissipation of heat, and also they are lighter. Aluminum alloys are lighter, so thereby reducing the overall weight of the engine. Then the piston is subjected to high heat, inertia, vibration, and friction. We have seen in the video. Then carbon steels minimize the effects of differential thermal expansion. So I told you about the thermal deformation, or there is another process called the thermal expansion. So what is thermal expansion means? When an object is heated, its volume increases. There is a small increase in volume, such is known as a thermal expansion. So a thermal expansion occurs when a metallic component such as a piston is present inside the engine. Then it becomes more tighter. So when we use carbon steels, it minimizes the effect of a thermal expansion. So the expansion that occurs in a piston will be much lesser than when we use a metallic piston. Then lowered weight of aluminum. Aluminum lowers the weight of the piston compared to cast iron. So cast iron is heavier, but it has much more strength than aluminum. Still, the weight will be comparatively high when compared with aluminum. So for aluminum is a weak material which does not have a strength. So for that we employ aluminum alloys. So alloys are formed and aluminum alloys are used for the building of a piston. Carbon steel pistons are made of SAE G2500 grade gray iron, and gray iron has a good fluidity at elevated temperatures. So at high temperatures, it can function much more properly than normal stainless steel pistons. Then aluminum pistons are made from alloys which are relatively high concentration of silicon. So when we mix silicon with aluminum, such aluminum alloys are used for making aluminum pistons. Then aluminum high in silicon improves wear resistance. So what is wear? Wearing is nothing but when a metallic components are rubbed against each other, small particles of it falls due to the movement of the particles relative to each other. So when the metallic components are rubbed against each other, small parts are scraped off from the surface of the metal. So it will be small particles that are present. That is when we go to a workshop and when we do the servicing or the changing of an oil, you can observe that when they drain the oil from the oil sump, you can see there is a small metallic particles present inside the oil. These particles that is present from the present in the oil comes from the rubbing of this metal. Most precisely, when we say that, it is the particles that is coming out from the cylinder walls due to the rubbing of the piston, and this is carried out from the engine by the oil into the oil sump. And when we use silicon based aluminum alloys, wear resistance increases. Then thermodynamic properties allow for a more uniform distribution of silicon and less segregation. I will explain it later. Then other aluminum alloys include 356 and 390 grades containing low compositions of silicon. That is about 3% to 8% of silicon present in aluminum. Next, the types of pistons. So basically, this is based on the shape of the piston. So the piston, based on the shape, is divided into three parts: flat top pistons, dish pistons, and dome pistons. So flat top pistons are nothing but the top is flat. So this is a flat top piston. Then comes the dish piston in the shape of a dish. So you can see the shape here. This is called a dish piston. Then a dome piston. So this is a dome piston. The center part will be the most peak point, while the sideways it declines into a gradient and it fills up the side. So it will be in the shape of a dome. So these are the three types of piston. Then comes the parts of a piston. So this is a complete piston, and it is connected. One end of the piston is connected to a connecting rod. This is a connecting rod. So a connecting rod has two ends. This is called the small end, and this is called the large end. A small eye and a large eye. So 2 points of the connecting rod. While a small end is connected to the piston. So the piston is connected here, and this is the piston. You can see many rings present inside the piston. There are so many grooves present. Grooves is nothing but holes or spaces in the piston, and there are three holes here. So, three grooves here, and two of these grooves are filled for compression rings. All the three rings are called piston rings. Two of the rings are called compression rings, while one is called the oil ring. So compression rings and oil rings. So those constitute the piston ring. Then comes the piston skirt. So piston skirt is nothing but the bottom portion of the ring, the piston ring. After the piston ring, the bottom portion of the piston is known as piston skirt. Then comes the piston pin. Piston pin secures the piston onto the small end of the connecting rod. So this is the piston pin, and this goes into, when the connecting rod is fitted here, it goes into the connecting rod small end and it holds it into position. So this is a piston pin. Then comes the piston head or crown. It is the topmost part of the piston. The topmost part is called the piston head or crown. Then piston bearings. So bearings are used for, so we know that the piston is a mechanical component, and also during this working of up and down motion and the movement of connecting rod, there will be a wearing of the piston. So wearing is, I told you, wearing, that is the scraping of material due to the rubbing of two metals. And to reduce these wearings, a bearing is provided. To reduce the wear, bearings are provided. So bearings is an additional component that helps in the fluidic movement of the metallic component and also self wears. So instead of the piston being weared out, a bearing wears out. So when you change a component, we just have to change the bearing. So the bearing protects the piston from wearing out. Okay, the bearing is provided here, exactly between the pin and the connecting rod small end, and I will explain it later. So we have to look at each of the component, and I will be explaining about each component. So first we'll discuss about piston ring. Okay, piston rings. We saw that there are two types of piston rings: compression rings and oil ring. Okay, compression rings, generally there are two types of compression rings and one oil ring. Maybe in heavier engines, more number of compression rings and oil rings are used. It depends upon the engine. Commonly, there are two compression rings and one oil ring. Okay, piston rings are metallic rings inserted into the circumferential grooves provided at the top end of the piston. So we seen that the piston rings are fitted into the grooves of the piston. Okay, and there are three rings, compression rings, two compression rings, and one oil ring. The piston rings maintain an airtight joint between the piston and cylinder while reciprocating. So to explain that, okay, to explain that, you can look at the figure shown here. So when there is piston, only the when piston is moves upwards, that it is air or air fuel mixture to escape down to the crankcase. Okay, that is undesirable property. such a property should not occur, and we will lose air fuel mixture. Or even when the power stroke is there, when a spark is given and the fuel and air is exploded inside, such temperatures also escapes below the piston into the crankcase. Okay, so all the power will not also, we will not get all the power generated inside the combustion chamber. For this purpose, we provide a piston ring. So piston rings are used for the sealing action. When you give piston rings, you can see there is a small gap in between the piston and the cylinder walls. Okay, the piston and the cylinder walls, there is a small gap, and that gap is sealed by using a compression ring. Okay, so that is what it means by an airtight joint between the piston and the cylinder while reciprocating. So the compression rings provide an airtight joint. Then piston rings are pieces of split rings that mounted on a resist area. Okay, what is meant by a split ring? So you can see that here there is a piston ring. So it is not a single circle. It is split in the between. You can see here, there is a gap here, a split. So these are called as split rings. So piston rings are split rings for a purpose. These piston rings has a small spring-like property. Okay, spring-like property. That means when compressed, it can deform into when the compressive force is released, it can deform into its original shape. Okay, this is its original shape, and you will compress it when mounting inside a piston. And to compress this, we use a tool known as a piston ring compressor. So this is a tool known as piston ring compressor. So what we will do means, in a piston we will mount the piston rings and the oil ring, and using this tool we will compress the piston ring and the oil ring. Then by using a nylon hammer, we will just slowly hit the piston and mount it inside the cylinder. Okay, through here we will hit it with a nylon hammer and slowly mount it inside the engine block or the engine cylinder. So by using this tool we can compress the compression ring and also the oil ring. Okay, there are usually three piston rings: compression ring, another also a scaper or wiper ring. It is also a compression ring. Then comes the oil ring. So what does a compression ring do? This is the top side ring and nearest to the compression chamber. So you can see here, there are so many rings here, but basically there are two rings and one oil ring. Okay, here there are two oil rings and one expander. Some pistons will be like that, but generally it is two piston rings, two compression rings and then one oil ring. And the topmost ring is called the, it is the topmost part, two compression rings. Okay, this is a top side ring and nearest to the compression chamber. It is also called a gas or a pressure ring, because when compression occurs, there is a huge pressure that is generated inside the cylinder. Also when explosion or the combustion stroke occurs, there is a huge pressure generated. So it will act as a pressure ring. It will not release the pressure downwards, but handle it inside the cylinder itself. So it is also called as a pressure ring or a gas ring. Then the ring prevents combustion gases from leaking. So I told you the gases may leak down to the crankcase. Okay, that phenomenon is known as a crankcase blow-by or an engine blow-by. Okay, blow-by means the air or air fuel mixture escapes from the cylinder into the crankcase. Such a phenomenon is called a blow-by, and the blow-by doesn't occur when we use a compression ring. Also, the compression ring acts as a heat transfer. Heat will be transferred from the piston to the walls of the cylinder. The heat generated from the cylinder is somewhat transferred from the cylinder to the walls of the cylinder. Okay, so it will also act as a heat transfer medium. Then comes the scraper or wiper ring. This is located between the compression and oil rings. Okay. Okay, this ring will act as both a seal, it will function as a seal to the combustion chamber, and also it will function as an oil scraper. Okay, you will know what is an oil scraper when we read about oil ring. So oil ring is the bottommost ring that is present inside the piston. So this oil ring functions as nothing but when oil is applied to the cylinder, if oil is present inside the combustion chamber, that is where the fuel and air is ignited, if oil is present, we will get a smoky exhaust, that is black smoke. Okay, such a combustion is not desirable. So we have to somehow restrict the oil present inside the cylinder. For that purpose, an oil ring is provided. So when the oil ring passes, that is, imagine when the piston moves from the BDC to TDC, that is downward to the upward motion, oil is present inside the cylinder walls. When it moves downwards, that is from TDC to BDC, and the piston moves from the top dead center to the bottom dead center, or from the upward to the downward motion, the oil ring comes first into contact. Okay, the oil ring comes first into contact to the oil present in the, because it is present at the bottom side. Okay, so when moving downwards, the first ring to come in contact with the cylinder wall will be the oil ring. So the oil ring scrapes out from the cylinder wall. From the cylinder wall, there will be oil present inside the cylinder wall. So when the oil, when the piston moves downwards, the oil ring will scrape out. Okay, scrape out the oil from the cylinder walls, and it will be fallen into the crankcase. The oil sump. The oil will be present here, and it will be falling down into the oil sump. Okay, such is the function of an oil ring. Next, this is so the ring present inside the cylinder. You can see that. So there is two compression rings here, top compression ring and a second compression ring. So we told that I told you that the ring was a splitted pattern. Okay, splitted ring. So due to the splitting action of the ring, there is a chance of fuel and air to escape through the split. Okay, even when we compress it, there will be a small gap, a tiny gap, so the pressure can also leak down between into the piston. Okay, below the piston, the fuel air mixture can go downwards to the second ring. So there is a chance of that occurring. So if we provided only one compression ring, the possibility of a blow-by will be higher. The possibility of a blow-by will be higher. So we will provide a second compression ring, and the second compression ring will be inserted into the groove in a special way. You can see that if the split of the top compression ring is provided in this side, while the second compression ring split will be provided in this side. Okay, it will be in the opposite direction. So what will happen means, if the fuel escapes here to the from the first compression ring to the second compression ring, the fuel will get trapped here. It will not go here. Okay. If we have mounted the second compression ring, the slot of the second compression ring here, the fuel can easily escape to downwards. Okay, so it will not occur when we insert it in this way. So service in during the service of the piston or the mounting of the piston ring, the rings are faced in this direction. The slots are faced in opposite direction. This is to prevent the fuel or air fuel mixture to escape from the ring to the crankcase. So it will be trapped here. Okay, and we will get the desired power up into the piston. Okay, I think time is almost up. Next, I will take the attendance.